What's up, everybody?
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Kevin, I see from your lineup quiz you're a Seinfeld fan. My goodness, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I do like Seinfeld. It's a good show. A whole bunch of good show anyway. Still is.
Art Vanderlaan, it's good.
There's still at the dollar store.
Hey, Kev.
Hey. All right. Well, we're getting a few people populating this. So I got another minute or so here. Well, it's 6 o'clock now. All right. Well, let's see. I'm sure I have a few people coming in. We got 11 so far. All right. Well, it's a bit of a bummer. We kind of made a decision with Jenison having a winter storm warning in effect and a bunch of snow coming their way and blowing everything, and then advisories all over. It's probably not the best idea to have travel over there. The worst thing that could happen would be, we all go over there and somebody gets in a bad crash or something like that. And we could have maybe just kind of canceled it. We've got another one coming up, so we will just kind of do what we can there. It's always better for this kind of stuff to be in person, if we can do some things, just kind of move around and show some things to people, especially the newer people. But it didn't really work out. That's what happens, I guess, in January, right? So I think it's better safe than sorry on a lot of things. I know a lot of schools have canceled their after school stuff, and they were not letting the baseball team and everything practice there. So, and there's no reason for us to be in there either. So anyway, we figured we could have some kind of, question and answer, just talk about whatever kind of umpiring thing people want to talk about. We've got some veteran guys on here, which is great because we can talk about whatever, they want to talk about, but obviously it's a little bit better for the less experienced guys to, kind of pose some questions. It could be anything. It could be something that somebody might think is simple, but we can talk about it. There's lots of things in umpiring that, seem like it should be obvious, and then like nobody ever tells you or something like that, So we can talk about that. We got a lot of experience on here with different guys, and so if there's something with the new rules we want to talk about, something with different quizzes, I don't know if somebody wants to talk about mechanics, whatever we want to do. I mean, I was ready to even talk about basic stuff with A position and B and stuff like that for the newer guys at the field house, but that didn't really work out. So what do people think? Because I don't have a script here. Okay, so we'll go with whatever.
I had a question to start things off, Kev. You call interference and reaches out across the plate, the bunt the ball, and there's run stealing for second, and the coach argues that your guy was just bunted, and that's why he was playing. How do you handle that?
Well, the whole thing with that kind of interference play there is if you and your judgment as a plate umpire feel that he impeded the catcher's attempt to make a play. So, I mean, if he does reach over and doesn't impede him, I guess we don't have anything. And we don't have to have contact for impediment either. If he makes it so it's difficult for him to throw or do something to make a play on that runner, then we have interference, So that's, I guess what I end up coming to with the coach is that in my judgment, he impeded the catcher's ability to make a play. I mean, I say that exact thing. I'll say in my judgment, that's what it was. And if it is, then you got that call. because it is your judgment. Somebody else might not have the same judgment, but it's your call, right? I don't know.
Gotcha. And the argument, the coach is arguing he didn't mean to do it.
Doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant, right?
Yeah. We'd have very few obstruction or interference calls if nobody meant to do it. We're not, either he interfered or obstructed or he didn't. And then, there are a couple instances where we, talk about, if there was intent, but very rarely, 99% of the time, it's like he did or didn't, and, if you were negligent in your ability to not interfere or obstruct, then, that's just your problem, I guess. Right. So.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Thanks.
Hey, Kevin, you said something there that I think is really good. I want to make sure that the rookies get it. You said, in my judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And when you address a coach and you're coming out with that, it's in my judgment. You're not saying you have a rule interpretation, by rule, blah, blah, blah. And when you say it's in my judgment, at that point, it's not, the coaches can't argue with you. They can ask for an explanation, but you give them your explanation and you're done talking about it because you set it up with, in my judgment. Really critical words to start off with, especially when you have a judgment call. And with judgment call, maybe you just expand on what is a judgment call. What are typical judgment calls that you could start off with that conversation with coaches?
Yes, that it does kind of reduce their ability to prolong the situation. And like you said, if it is a rule interpretation, and you're very confident, it's by rule, this is what it is. Why does he get third base? Well, by rule, there you go. So those are good things to get into your toolbox, I guess, for how you handle coaches. I mean, you want to be approachable, and but you also want to be confident in what you're doing. And so they can disagree with your judgment on a safe out or interference or non-interference or whatever it is, but it is your judgment. I mean, you're not going to change it. You're not going to go to your partner and go, hey, did you think he interfered? No, it's your call. If you thought he interfered, and usually on those kind of plays, it's pretty obvious. I mean, when I've gotten him, I'm just like jumping all over it because I'm not like, I don't know, maybe he kind of interfered. If I think you interfered, I'm just getting it. I'm pointing down at it and I'm getting that call and I'm going to get that out. So be confident with your call too. So, all right. What else we want to talk about, fellas? Could be anything at all. I mean, anything at all to do with high school umpiring.
Game management came up in the chat.
Kev. I got one. So you're working the plate and you got that parent behind you that obviously can see, he's got X-ray vision. So obviously he can see a lot better the strike zone. How would you tell our newer guys how to deal with chirping from outside of the fence? That's a lot. They're hanging out on the side of the dugout, or they're sitting behind you behind the backstop. How would you handle that?
If you just got simple chirping, like the guy or gal, but usually it's a guy, is thinking you're missing pitches or whatever, and they're like, oh, you missed that and this and that. You just gotta kind of take it, I mean, the only way it really gets any extremity to the situation when it's outside the fence is if they're doing, like, they're swearing, they're being, discriminatory, something like that, that's over the line like that. Then you still should not say anything to them. We cannot address the people outside the fence because it just blows up in your face. So game management is supposed to handle stuff outside the fence. So if there's no athletic director or somebody there that's their assistant that's running that game, then it's the head coach. And so if it is something that's, over the line, then you talk to the head coach or the game management and say, we're not going to continue this game until that person's removed. And you can, you might have to tell them what you heard and what's going on, but that's what we're doing. And you just wait. And then, they usually will get it done. And you don't go over there. You don't throw fans out. We're not giving them the heave-ho and all that kind of stuff. We let the game management do it. If they don't do it, then we just wait there. And, then we might get down the road where it could be like a forfeiture, but usually it never ends up that way. I guess, you could have done that road, but they want to get that game going and they're going to ask that person to leave. And it's not you going over there to do it. So that's how you got to handle stuff outside the fence. And if it's just like, kind of regular baseball stuff and they're just getting on you because they think that your strike zone sucks, you just got to take that, maybe your strike zone does suck and you should look at that. All right. But it's really just over the line stuff, right? I mean, really, you do. I mean, I say that, and I guess I'm trying to be funny, but if you got both teams complaining that you're calling, every pitch below the knees, and you got both sides saying something to you about it, if it's both sides, you maybe should take a look and go, am I calling those a little low? Maybe you are, right? I mean, if it's just one side and that guy's just complaining, okay, yeah, we can write that off. But if it's both sides and it's consistent on the same thing, then maybe it is a little bit of self-evaluation there. All right. Good point, though. I mean, is that what you were thinking, Malik?
Yeah. Don't want to engage because that's what the people on the outside of the fence want. They want you to turn around. They want to see that they have your attention, that they have your ear. So you want to not give them that satisfaction. This is why it's so important to know who is going to be on site, who the site administrator is, how do you reach them if you need them, maybe briefly, real quickly in your plate meeting with the coaches, remind them about being responsible for not only their players, but their fans, and making sure, if we have an issue, then if we can't get to the site person, then we would go to the head coach and count on them to remind their parents or their fans about sportsmanship, about being respectful, about respecting the game, things like that. Because going back and forth, don't do it. It never looks good. Then the phones are going to come out. Then you're going to be on social media.
Then there's always some other people more than willing to jump in on it and get on you too. So then it's you against like six.
Yeah. So it's just not a good look to do.
So.
But if there's just like Kevin said, ignore it. They're going to say whatever, especially if they're losing by a lot. They feel like you're trying to cheat them out of the game for some reason. Just ignore that. But if they're swearing at you, they're throwing F-bombs, things like that, they're making it personal, you do not have to take that. You do not deserve to take that type of abuse. That is over the line, and they don't have to stay. They don't, just because even if they happen to pay for a ticket, which is rare, they still don't buy their ability to abuse you. I had an AD tell me, man, if you were at MIAA and they said some of those same things at you and you were walking in the grocery store, they would, somebody said those same things that they're saying to you, they would have a fit. So you know where the line is. And again, empower your head coach, your site administrator. You have those at your disposal. Versus you having to do the dirty work. Make them do that dirty work for you.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's good. Any other topics we'd like to talk about here this evening?
There's something in the chat, Kev.
Oh, what we got there? Let me know what it is here. Chris.
Just saw it pop up on my screen.
With contacting partner, can you cover contacting the school part of the game? Yeah, we kind of put in some newer things starting last year about trying to, contact the athletic department and seeing, if they have a place. They usually don't have a place for you to change, but maybe they do, or just, confirming the game and everything. All that stuff can be found on Arbiter under the assignment usually. And you can, call or email. A lot of people email and do that. How did that work out for people that are on the call here last year when they did that? What suggestions might you have about that? I know a bunch of you did that.
I think just do it.
Yeah.
They like it.
Right. Kev, I've got the form letter that we had put together for last year.
Okay.
Maybe we'll throw that out in
Or even stick it on the chat too, if you can, but we can put it somewhere else too.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll try and stick it in the chat now, but then we can put it back in the classroom and
Yeah.
have it there as a reference, because for the new guys, they don't have it. And it basically just says, hey, we've got a game, next week, Wednesday, scheduled JV doubleheader. Myself and my partner Malik will be there at 4:00 for the game. Please let us know who the game management person is. It'll meet us at the facility. And do you have a changing room for us to be able to change in? Look forward to providing, officiating for your athletic contest. And you send that to the athletic secretary or the AD, and then just make sure that we're proactive in letting them know what our request is. And you really just want to know, right? I mean, who are you supposed to meet if there is a person to meet? And sometimes they come right clean and say, we don't have anybody. We're so busy. But at least then you don't have anybody. And if you do ask,
more events going on that day, so we probably won't have anybody there.
right, but at least they tell you that, and then you know it. And then it defaults, as you said earlier, to the head coach. So then the game management is the head coach. And it works out pretty good. So I'll try and get that out there in the chat right now, and then put it out in the classroom later.
I would agree. It's good to do. Of all the sports I do, baseball tends to be those ones where the game time sometimes is different between the coach, the AD, and what's on arbiter. So checking that start time, especially on doubleheaders, is important.
It's also good, I think, just as important that when you get there on site, half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is before, if you're the first one there, it's good to go over to the field. They're warming up and just, say hi to the head coach and say, hey, we got 4:15 start. We'll be out here about 4:05, about 10 minutes before. All right, good. And then they know you're there. And also you kind of confirm the start time. And if you're like, oh, well, we might be 5 minutes later, their bus just got here or something, then because you don't want to be out there standing around if you don't have to be. So it's good to do that and just let them know that you're there, because sometimes, it might be obvious that, hey, the car over there with the trunk up and the umpire looking guy is the umpire, but they don't always get that. So it's good to let them know. And if the head coach is busy or something, just tell one of the assistants, hey, we're here. We're going to be out here. Usually it's 10 minutes before. But you could even do 5. I mean, whatever you want, 5 or 10. You don't want to be out there standing there while they're still finishing infield, outfield. I mean, that's not good. Don't do that. I know there's some guys that do that. They like to stand out there and then they chit chat. We shouldn't be out there chit chatting with people. We should just get there pretty soon after we arrive at the field. We should go right to the plate and be ready to do the plate meet.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, last year I was talking to some other umpires on the other side of the state. I said, I usually go out 10 minutes before. They said, why do you go 10 minutes before? You got to go 5. And sure enough, in the Fed rule book for high school, the recommendation is 5. Collegiately, we do 10. And he said, and then we got into a discussion about, well, what's 5 versus 10? He says, well, if you're out there for 10, you're out there for a longer time, for other stuff to happen. He says, your plate meeting with the coaches, can get done pretty quickly, and you don't need to be out there that long. He says, so just try to get out there with 5. And I started trying to do 5, and it went a little bit smoother. Because a lot of times you're kind of standing around there, then waiting.
We don't want that.
And if you're waiting, do you want your base umpire waiting at the plate with you, or do you want to send them out to right field and goes out and stand by the fence? Or, it's just better to have a shorter period of time.
I think 5 is good. I mean, usually in college is 10, especially if it's a series or the first game of a doubleheader. You might need a little bit more, but
Yep.
Second game of a series, second game of a doubleheader. I mean, shoot, the plate meeting should be like a minute or less. I mean,
Right.
Much to talk about. We already know ground rules. Well, boom, get the lineups. We're good.
Right. Right. And
So 5 is probably fine. 10 is the earliest, really. You should be out there.
Yeah.
So, because somebody's going to say something, hey, what's your strike zone? Hey, did you know we had this play? Well, you don't need any of that garbage. It's like, you're like, yeah, I know who worked that game. I heard about it. And you're an idiot. That's what you're thinking, So,
Hey, Kev, that's a good one. What's your strike zone? You don't have that
yeah,
much.
well, they ask you dumb questions. I mean, if you want to go out and get dumb questions, then stand there longer.
What's a good answer to that?
You're standing there when they're doing infield outfield. You know what else might happen? You get hit by a ball. I mean, that happens. I mean, you get hurt. I mean, so there's not much good that comes from being there too early. Just be there just before you got to get out there to do your plate meeting.
And also the limiting the time there, it helps to eliminate the fraternization when
Yeah.
there's somebody on another team that thinks they know you and they try to come up to you. If you've only got that 5-minute period, you're like, hey, we got stuff to do. I'm sorry, I can't be talking to you. Otherwise, you're standing there going, hey, Kev, how you doing, buddy? Great to see you again, blah, 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 blah. And they want to give you this hug. And
I
then the
don't
other
care
coach
what
is
you
looking
meant.
at it.
That looks bad. I mean, even if you meant nothing by it, it makes no difference in how you call the game. But if somebody from, assistant coach from one of the teams comes over and gives you a little side hug or something, and you shake hands and you're kind of laughing, no, it just doesn't look good. And you can avoid that if you get out there a little bit later.
Somebody told me the only thing you can tell those guys is you're giving them your address for your Christmas and birthday cards.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen. So don't do it.
Yeah. Because nobody sends.
Kev, can you talk about the best way, how you track substitution, reentry rule, and all the things you got to track with high school baseball? Like, what's the best way to manage
Well,
it?
there's multiple ways. I have my method of doing it, and I'm not saying mine's the best, but it works for me. The best, you have to kind of think of how you're going to write things on your lineup card. Are you going to put RI or RE for reentry? Are you just going to? I usually just circle guys, and then I have my little star system circle. I just write things in the way I do. I know what it is, and I think I could tell somebody else what it is if I had to give it to another umpire because they had to complete the game or something like that, right? So you want a system that could be decipherable in some way with maybe a slight bit of help to another umpire if they ever needed that. That doesn't happen too often, but just one that what it is, so that if there is a question, if that player was already in the game, I mean, so I'm not going to tell you exactly how I don't really have a specific. I'm not going to tell you to do it the way I do it, but the things you have. So you have to keep track of the conferences. I usually do that up near the top, but some guys do it in different spots. There's not any one way to do it, and sometimes they give you a lineup card and somebody gives you a nice one that's got lots of places you can write on. And sometimes it's just a little dinky thing. You can barely fit anything on it. All right. So it all depends on that too. I have a lineup card holder that has, home and visitor on each side, and with a little magnetic thing that fits in my shirt pocket. And I keep track of the individual conferences and all that kind of stuff on each individual one. Okay. So like the home ones, I do it on theirs, and vice versa. I go all by numbers, but we know that it's not by numbers in the rule book. It's all by last name. So if you have an issue, you got to make sure that you know who the last name of the number 14 is, or whoever, right? I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I'm just, what you have to keep track of. So you have to come up with a system that you do consistently every time, so that you know what it is when you look at it, So there's nothing like in the rule book that says you got to do it a certain way. I've never seen it in umpiring manuals, a certain way to do it. I think we've had some things. I think Hedges that showed that. So maybe we can do that. I don't know if you have that or something.
I do have, yep.
If you have that, maybe we can. I don't know if I can. You could share it or whatever. I'd have to give you the share thing, I think.
Let me look at it. I'll see if I can pull it up here. Then
But if you do, we can do that. And it's a really good question there, Mark. Oops. Let's see here.
I would just add in there that the more information, the better, without taking a ton of time. I mean, you got to be efficient with doing it. I've seen, well, we've all kind of been there in the cold weather. You're fumbling with your stuff. You gotta take your time and do it, but not take forever.
Yes, it needs to be quick as you can,
Yeah.
with being accurate, right?
Yep.
So we don't want to just do it so fast that we can't, I'm trying to see if do you think are you able to share, Hedges? Or do I have to give you permission?
Well, I need to find it on my
Okay, well, let me
file
know.
here.
if
Yep,
you-
I will. As soon as I find it, I'll let you.
Okay. So I usually do like, and other guys can chime in how they might do things if they think their method is good. Because, like I say, I'm not saying my method's the best. I mean, I bet you somebody's got better methods than I do. But I know that I know what's going on. I can tell you, yep, that guy was in this guy, and I want to know what inning he came in. Like if it's a new pitcher, number 14, P4. You know, so I've got like fourth inning. You know, I want to know when he came in as well. And then, you know, with we only have so many conferences in high school baseball now, so it's not as big a deal. Like in college baseball, there's a lot more conferences and everything. So you know, it's like player ones or coach ones and all that. So you got to keep track of that a little bit more. So I don't know what else I can tell you. That's what I get.
There's a question in the chat, Kev, about mechanics. Can you see that from Mike?
About, let's see here. Let me scroll down.
Starts with acceptable mechanics.
Acceptable mechanics. What is this?
2 outs, runner on third. That one.
Oh yeah, acceptable mechanics for a base umpire. 2 outs, runner on third, or second and third. Can we go back to B for better position at most likely play at first? It seems like the more veteran guys always go over to B, but what are your current expectations? According to manuals, no. All right, you should stay in C. I stay in C. All right, with just a runner on third and just a runner on second and third, I'm always in C. The only time that it is acceptable to move from C to B with 2 outs is when there's bases loaded, because then that's the most likely play. And
First and third, the mechanic has us in B too.
in B, because you know, first and third you're in B because your most likely play there, other than a ground ball, is a pickoff at first, right? So you should be there. If you got a runner on third, you have to be in the best spot you can be initially for a pickoff or a back pick at third, and that's C. Same thing with second and third. You've got a back pick or a pickoff at third, and a pickoff or something at second base. C is the best position. So let's say go back to B with second and third, or a runner on third, and then they back pick or try to pick that guy at third, and you're way over in B. That looks like crap. All right. If I'm coaching, I'm on your ass. All right. So no. And I know you're going to get a ground ball there, but we have to be able to step up, turn to the ball, move across the back working area of the plate, and get set on the other side of the mound toward first base, anticipating that play at first base. We can get there and get in a good spot to see that play. So no. And I do not think at all that, you know, I don't know what veteran guys do that, but that's incorrect. And as far as the manuals and everything, you should still be in C for those. There's a lot more things that could happen that would be better for you to be in C than B. The only thing you're thinking is a ground ball. Is that the way every inning ends? Just a ground ball over there so you can get over there? So here we go. Hedges on the Okay. I don't know if that answers the question or not, and people can disagree with me, but I know that's what the manuals say too.
Hey, Kev.
Mm-hmm.
It's Howie.
Hey.
I know over the last year or two, we've made a big deal about asking for a locker. And
Yeah.
I gotta be honest with you, I never asked for one. And the reasoning is most of these baseball diamonds are quite a bit away from the high schools. You being a Northwoods teacher knows that baseball field is not next to the school.
Yeah.
And if you go to the freshman JV or varsity field at Rockford, you're a heck of a ways from that high school building. So I just rather do it out of the car.
You know, I'm with you, Howie. For some of those, I would, you know, my stuff's in the car. You know, I'm not gonna like, oh crap, I'm in this like locker room. I forgot whatever. Not gonna go back to my car, or you know what I'm saying. So I mean, I'm used to going into locker rooms for collegiate games, which is fine. You know, I can pack all my stuff up, but I'm with you, Howie. I agree. I mean, I think, you know, for the guys that want the locker room, I mean, I'm willing to help fight for that, and that's good. I mean, but they'd almost need to give you a cart. I mean, that's what we do in college baseball. If it's a little ways away, you either get the keys of the cart or somebody picks you up and drives you over there. That's fine. Okay. But nobody's doing that. I mean, maybe they would. They have carts. All these schools do. They can pick you up and do it, but we kind of need the cart too. Good point, though. Okay, so we got some. Hopefully, everybody can see. We had this from a little while back. This lineup card management. We did some stuff there. So
Do you see it, Kev?
I see it. I think everybody else does too.
All right. So here's just real quick, just flying through. So we got a lineup card. We've got the starters and the substitutions. As Kevin said, it's by name, but we have the numbers just for reference. So on this first slide,
Much easier.
we're going to substitute 52 Kevin for 34 Henry. So you notate, an A or a number or whatever you need to do, but we know that Kevin is the substitute. Coach comes and says, hey, I want to put Kevin in the game. And so you put Kevin in the game, and we circle Henry and put A next to it. So now you know that Kevin is in for Henry. Next slide, down through, we've got Anthony goes in for Jerry. So this is an alpha character, A, B, C. It's real easy. Just put an A next to it, sort of there, circle it. You're done with that substitution. You do the B, you go through it. Got a C. Guess what? Kirk's going in. He's going in for Daniels. Then now we bring back Jerry and we put at first base. So now we've got A, B, and C. We move them around, and now Jerry's going over to D. And then D is going to be substituted for Frank. So we know Jerry moved up to Frank. So it's a real simple system that some guys will use. When I first started doing it, I was copying names and numbers. I was like, what do you want Kevin over there in Henry's spot? And I'm writing Kevin's name in here, and it's taking time and writing numbers and getting all stuff mixed up. And this makes it really easy that you know exactly who you've got going in for which one at one point in the game. And then at the end, now you come back and say, okay, so now this one, substitute Derek for Jerry. Jerry's now done. So now we know D, who was Jerry. He's got a slash through it. So now you know that he's done. He's got a line through his name. He's not eligible anymore. So that's just one, system of using, an alpha code and circles for the substitution and a line for you're done.
I think it's a very good system. I don't use anything like that, but I think that could be very efficient. If somebody's looking for something to do, I'll tell you, if I were doing for Daniels there and it was Kirk, I would write number 14 and I would put a dash and then whatever inning it was, and then what position he's in, or if he's a pinch hitter or whatever. I write the number in the spot. This is just from me being somebody that used to keep score of baseball games all the time, I guess. So I'm going to put it on that line, and that's what I do. And then I know what we got for reentry. So if, like, for example, Jerry, if he were to come back and reenter, then I circle him. I circle a guy that reenters. That's just what I do. I like it down there. I like it to be on the proper line. I don't know why, I just do, because then I know if like a guy is not betting, in the proper position. If I get a question about that, I got it in the right spot. I know it's the same thing there. Just in my brain, that's the way it works.
Yeah. So that's just a particular method.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. If and I think that's very clean. I mean, you want something clean that's easy for you to like look at it right away, and what the deal is. If somebody, hey, see, I thought Edward was supposed to be up. Nope.
Yeah, the coach comes in and says, hey, I want Derek. I'm like, okay, just a minute, Derek, what number is he? Oh, he's number 63. I'm like, oh yeah, I got him. And I know I got A, B, C, D. And I'm like, okay, he's E, he's the next guy to come in the game. So then I just, throw that on there. This is just something that Wachowski had, taught us how to do from the Crossroads.
I mean, I'm going to keep track of courtesy runners and stuff on the side below the substitutes over there. What number guy it was and stuff. I usually on that, I would probably keep track of the conferences up near the top of the lineup. I don't know, that's just where I put it. I'm not saying that's the best place, but that's just what I do. So, yeah. All right. So hopefully that helps a little bit there with the lineup card question. At least gives you some ideas on what you got to do. And if you're newer to this, then you just got to kind of go with something, see how that works, and then make adjustments, and then just do what works best for you.
Hey, Kev.
Yeah.
There was a chat about what the base umpire should keep track of.
The base umpire should keep track of conferences, offensive and defensive conferences for each team. That's pretty much it. And then you have like your little piece of paper in case, that there's some circus going on and you got to write something down. Somebody gets ejected or whatever. You might, it's nice to have that number 12 got ejected in the 6-4 on sportsmanlike. He was, swearing. He said maybe you got to quote him, blah, blah, blah. You can write some stuff down in case you got to write up a little report, which probably, especially if it's you, but even for your partner, you could help out that you wrote something down. So you can have something with you in case you ever need to make some notes, But really, it's just conferences. That's it.
I know as
That's
college
helpful.
guys, we have that form that we use with, the circling. I mean, I don't know if high school has a form out there to help keep track of these. You know what I'm saying? You know what we have for college.
Yes. And in college now too, okay, when it's only one umpire, then, if there's a 2-umpire system, then it's helpful that the other guy does it. But in college now, like if you got 3 or 4 umpires, they don't want all 2 or 3 base guys writing down at the same time and not paying attention to what the hell's going on. So they want to kind of stagger it, and so then it's usually like, okay, the first base umpire keeps track of it, but if it's 3-man, then the third base umpire, he's got to do the clock and all this other kind of crap. So maybe he writes it down later, or he doesn't write it down. So just usually one guy. Because, okay, do we really need 3 or 4 guys to go, no, they've used 2 offensive count? I mean, hopefully you can figure it out between 2 guys. Okay.
Oh,
So
no, I was just saying like the form that we use like in our back pocket, it's kind of like
yeah, they
guessing
have
and stuff. I mean, anybody can make up their own little sheet. That's what I meant to say.
even on like just a lineup thing, you could, they all get 3 conferences, so you could put 1, 2, 3 conferences, and you could X it up. I like to know what inning. In case the coach like, hey, I thought I had another one. No, use 1 in the first inning and 1 in the third inning. I mean, I want to know. I want to be able to tell them, personally, in case it comes to that. I don't think it ever has, but I always think of that I want to be able to specifically tell you what it was, and I know when it was.
Hey, Kevin, shouldn't the base umpire have their indicator on the field to keep track of balls and strikes?
Yeah, that'd be great. And a plate brush and a ball bag too. Those are all be good things to have. No, no indicator or clicker. It's not a clicker, it's an indicator. We don't, you should be paying well enough attention that 90+% of the time you know what the count is. Really. If you especially even my veteran guys, if you're a guy that frequently has no idea what the count is, then your pre-pitch and everything is, maybe you need to focus a little bit more and try to keep track of that, see what you can do. But you should be able to do that if you don't know what the count is, because stuff happens. I mean, I've been there, I don't know what it is. I say he keeps track of the count. I mean, I'm not going to say, yeah, it's 2-2, and then it was 3-2, and I'm wrong. I'm not going to do that if I don't know for sure. If I know it's 3-2, I say, yes, it's 3-2. So it's, just default that to the plate umpire. No brushes out there brushing things off. We're not the grounds crew. All right. No, indicator trying to keep track of stuff. We don't need to do that. So that's the plate umpire's job.
Kev, question in the chat about, could you talk about what the right-handed batter should do to stay out of trouble and avoid interference on steal?
Well, if a right-handed batter on a steal of home cannot get in the way of the play. So if there's going to, there's a play, a pitch coming in, the guy's stealing, he's got to get out of he can't interfere with that runner. He certainly wouldn't want to because it's his own runner, and he certainly can't interfere with the catcher's ability to, try to make a play, make a tag. So he's got to vacate the area enough that he's not making interference with that. On a steal play, like a second or third or a back pick or something like that, then he's just got to he can just kind of hold his ground as long as he's not throwing a wing up or something like that. That's okay. But on a steal, he's got to get the heck out of the way, right? Just like if there's a foul ball, right on top of the plate, he can't be standing there either, right? He's got to let the catcher try to make a play, or whoever's going to make a play on it.
Do you sometimes say something to the batter, hey, get out of the way? He might not even know the steal's coming if he's not paying attention.
Well, I hope he saw the sign. So no, we don't want to be coaching, right? The only time I'm telling guys to get out of the way on a play at the plate is if it's like a runner that just scored, or on deck hitter that's trying to get a bat or something like that, and they might be getting in the way. Then I'm like, hey, out of the way, out of the
Right.
way. You know, I'm going to do it for that, but not for that hitter. That's on him. He's got to know what's going on.
And Kev, on the steal of home, or, you know, if the batter has time to vacate their position in your judgment, and they had time to do it, they just decided to stand there in order to provide a pick or something, you know, then you've got something. So, I mean, it is not the rule that they are entitled to their spot in the box. You
No,
know,
they
that
absolutely.
doesn't protect them. They've got to, if there's time, they have to have, you know, vacate it, but
And there's
it's your
gonna-
judgment.
I don't care if it's, you know, Usain Bolt in his prime running down there. He's still got time to get out of the way. Okay, but it's going to take a few seconds. I mean, you can take a step back, you know, and get out of the box. Man, you know, that doesn't take that long. So, I mean, we're talking like a step or two. That's all they need to do to get out of the way, right? Because the play is going to be coming in that way, right in front of the plate. So, you know, yeah. So, they got to get the heck out of the way for sure.
They could be inadvertently getting in the way while they're trying to get out of the way. They could inadvertently interfere, couldn't they?
They could, and that would still be interference. Yes. Because you see that frequently, like on steals of third, where the guy tries to, a right-handed batter will step back right into the throw of the catcher, trying to throw to third. He's like, I was just trying to get out of the way. Well, you interfered. If you would have just held your ground, then it would have been all right. If he's got to throw around you. So even though he's trying to get out of the way and he didn't do it on purpose, that's still interference. That doesn't matter, right? Because he interfered. Did he interfere or not? Yes, he did. You know, so, and he, you know, he very well might not have done it on purpose. Probably didn't, but that doesn't matter.
And in your discussion with the coach, that's another, you know, ideal situation with, in my judgment, he interfered, or in my judgment, he did not interfere.
And well, he didn't do it on purpose. He interfered with it. Well, intent has nothing to do with it. That's what I would say.
Mhm.
Intent's not part of the call. You know,
Kevin,
What
I find the most times this is occurring is when there's a runner on third and pass balls are very common in the game. So in advance, I tell the batter, I said, hey, if there's a pass ball, I want you gone. Is that appropriate?
probably not.
Okay.
Because it could be construed as coaching. What would the other team think about that? The opposing coach potentially, would he potentially not like that?
I don't think he would, but
Yeah. So
create a problem.
probably shouldn't. I mean, I know it's just you're trying to be preventative, but it's his responsibility to get out of the way. You know, like I said, I mean, only on plays where like you got a runner that just came in or a on deck hitter or something like that, then to get those guys out of the way. They're just there trying to high five somebody or watch the play or get a bat. It's like, get out of the way. All right. People got to see what's going on and there's a play here. So then you can yell at those guys, get out of the way, shoo them away or whatever. If you have a chance to do that. Sometimes it happens so fast you don't even have to do that. You don't have a chance to do that. You just do what you can, But still, if they ended up interfering with somebody, it'd still be interference, even though it might be interference. I was just trying to get the bat. Well, leave the bat there if you can't get it. Just like us, we can clear a bat if we have time. But if you don't, you got to just be in your spot to make a call, right? So.
Hey, Kev.
Pass ball, it's going to be almost to the fence or something. That's a reasonably slow developing play. I mean, if a guy is getting a decent jump coming in, and he's got any kind of decent speed, he's going to score pretty easily. Usually you only have those plays if it takes a weird ricochet and it comes back to the catcher real quickly somehow. Or the guy is so late in coming, he stumbled, he didn't read it well, and now you got to play. And still there's time for that play to develop. You know what I'm saying? So what was the next thing here?
Hey,
Can I
Kev.
jump in real quick? What about a batter trying to avoid a pitch up by his chin and he backs out? How would you rule that in terms of offensive interference?
Why would it be interference if a ball was up by his chin?
Well,
on
a throw to third.
Okay, if he's moving out of the way of the pitch and doing what he's supposed to do on the ball field at that point, I I guess it's a judgment call, but I would not say, he's trying to avoid it. So I would probably let that slide a little bit more, that would be a tough one. But I would be much more cautious in calling interference on him if he had to get out of the way of a high and tight one. Yeah.
Now
And you
there's-
just have to see the play. So that's a case by case kind of thing, I'd say. But definitely you have to be more lenient. Because that's on the pitcher too. It's like, well, your throw took him over there, So
Hopefully the pitcher is good enough that he actually pegs the guy in the mid drift as the guy's coming in, because then you got a dead ball situation. You send him back and put him on first so that it actually hits him. That would be a easier way.
I see Malik saying, what's my guy supposed to do? I've had that question before. Mine is not interfere. that's when I get a smart ass question, I usually do give a smart ass answer. And it is not interfere with the fielder. That's what he's supposed to do. Okay?
Don't tell him he's supposed to disappear.
Yeah. He's supposed to not interfere. Hold his ground, whatever. I mean, not do what he did. I mean, how much it's kind of a dumb thing when they say that. It's like, what, he can just go anywhere he wants, I guess. Okay. Anyway, other things. What we got?
Hey, Kev.
Yeah.
I think we touched on this 2 weeks ago in Granville regarding the check swing.
Mhm.
Okay, if I'm the home plate umpire and there's a check swing and I make a call saying, yes, he went, I am not obligated to go to my partner after I made that call. Okay.
Absolutely not. You call it a strike, it's a strike. Even if it was a crappy call. Even if he barely moved his, okay, well, you got it. That's it. We're not going to change that. Yeah. Yeah. So plate guy gets it as a strike, done deal. The only time we go is if, it's questionable if he swung or not. And we called it a ball. We said no swing. Yep. All right. What else we got, fellas? Malika, you're not talking. That's his box on there, buddy. I'm glad that all these people think that batters own batters boxes. We know they don't. They really don't own that box, right?
That just makes me laugh because it's usually that's when it's a throw.
It's a right to the
like
box. It
like-
doesn't say anything about that in that rule book. Where does it say that in the rule book? That the batter owns the box. Go ask Bob Gibson about that. He'll have a look.
It's the same section that says tie goes to the runner.
Yes. It's in the miscellaneous section of not existence. Yes. All right. So we got some good stuff here. What else we want to talk about?
Malik had brought up game management earlier, and what are some things that make it look like you have good game management, Kev?
Well, a couple of things we even talked about so far, like being quick with your lineup changes and your administration of the game and getting a pitcher in there and getting people, moving along and stuff like that. That's very important as far as game management. That shows that you're in control and getting people, being a leader as far as moving the game along. How you speak to players and coaches is real important as far as game management. Obviously, it's really easy if the game's just flying along and there's no real close plays and pitchers are mowing people down. Those are the easy ones to do. But when crap starts to happen and somebody has a question about something, can you articulate in the right verbiage, why you made the decision that you did, and then that gains your respect, and then the game is managed better that way. When there's somebody being unsportsmanlike and saying, cat calling or something from the dugout, and you take care of things in a professional way and get it stopped and people respect that, that's just good game management. Those kind of things where, you just want people to feel that the game is being played and the team that plays better today is going to win. And it had nothing to do with the umpires, and they made sure that it was played fairly. That's really what it is, I guess. And they respect your cause to a certain point, I guess. What's that?
I think that, for our high school games, with the 7-inning game, you've got in between every one of those innings, time management. And that really helps in the game management to make sure that you know how many pitches the pitcher has, you know, to warm up, and you're getting them moving on both, and you're setting that expectation early in the game. And then you're just there and you're not letting it just happen, but you're like, hey, we got 5 pitches and we're going, guys, let's go. And you start doing that. And I think that helps with the game management, because at the end of the day, grandma wants to buy an ice cream cone for Benny that hit a home run, and they want to get there sooner than later. And if you're there for 4 hours because you're not managing the game and you're just letting everybody lollygag, that's a poor reflection on game management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, you're only
That's
talking.
huge. I mean, keeping kids in the box, they want to step out, you know, strap their wristband bullshit, and just time management so huge. I mean, you can cut off so much time by just keeping guys in the box, and like Dave said, pitches in between innings, and new pitchers, relief pitchers coming in. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of a believer of a 7-inning game should last no longer than 2 hours, but that's me.
It is a point of emphasis this year from the state. So when you go out on the MHSAA website, points of emphasis this year is game timing of the games. And it's not the same as it is for, you know, NCAA and pro with clocks and measuring everything, but they certainly want it to they want the game to be moving along.
Mm-hmm. And I think more than anything, it's more on the home plate umpire. You know, you have to make sure that, you know, the new pitcher or the starting pitcher gets his 8 warm-ups, and that's it. And when there's 2 more, you say, hey, you got 2 more. And, you know, if it's in between innings, you make sure the catcher or somebody's getting out there to warm up the pitcher. You know, he gets his 5. When you got, you know, 1 left, you know, even if that catcher's not out there, you hold it until he gets out there and throws it down. You're paying attention in between innings. You're not talking to your partner, you know, every inning or something like that, and starting the inning late, and just getting things moving along. I mean, you can do a lot of things, you know, conferences, you give them a reasonable amount of time to talk. 30 seconds is probably all they really need at the most. Okay. And then you briskly walk out there and say, hey, are we all set? Let's go. And then you tell the coach how many conferences he has now used, and you go back and you jog it back there and beat the catcher back, and you just keep it moving. And so you can cut at least 10 minutes off the game just doing that kind of stuff. All right.
Hey, Kev, when a reliever comes in and just plays catch off the mound with an infielder with 2 or 3 tosses, are we counting those as warm-up pitches?
I count him. If he's on the mound.
He's not on the mound.
Doesn't matter.
And he'll throw 2 or 3 to the third baseman. Then he goes up on the mound and starts throwing warm-up pitches.
So
I would be right away. Hey, those are counting as your warm-ups.
Okay, that's what I do, but I don't know if that's kosher.
That is absolutely.
That's trying to deviate from the rule.
Absolutely kosher. In the rule book, they get 5 or 8 warm-up throws. It doesn't say it's a pitch.
He gets throws. He gets 8. I mean,
right, but he gets their throws, and so you can tell him politely that throw to your third baseman, your shortstop, that counts. You know, make sure that you know you're using what you need to from the mound, but you're only going to get 8 of those. You know, as you're coming in.
Yep. Good point. Okay. Well, that was, you know, I don't know. I mean, as far as game management, there's just how you handle everything and your demeanor, all that stuff kind of goes into that. And that's the big 1/3 of umpiring, you know, how you work the bases, how you work the plate. And then the 1/3 is game management, you know, and the guys that move along, they get to whatever level they're trying to get to, they do that well, you know. For some people it's natural, for some people it has to be learned, you know. Using our warnings and things properly. I mean, that's part of game management too, you know, and not sitting there taking crap about balls and strikes the whole game or waiting until the 6th inning to do something about it. You know, you say, you know, you ignore it first, then you say, you know, you kind of give the verbal, I'm not going to listen to complain about balls and strikes or whatever you want to say. Then you give the written, you write it down, that's your official ball strike warning. And then you have the guts and in the cojones to eject if needed. If they continue to do that, if it's anybody else, you eject somebody. Those are the steps. You do it, and then if you have that coach or situation again, they know they're not going to be doing that, you know. And the other team sees how you handle it too, so they're not going to mess with it either. So, you know, those kind of things, warnings and and following through on any of those things are very important, you know, and that's a big part of the game management as well. All right, anything else we want to talk about? We got about 7 minutes here.
You got a pitcher on the mound. He's in the set position. He's already come set. Your hand is up. Batter's not in the box yet. Do you have him reset?
Well, this is a little different from high school to college, but if he's coming set and the batter's not there, I'm putting my hand up and I'm jumping out from behind the catcher and like, hey. And I usually point at my eyes. He's got to be looking at you. You know, I mean, he has to be attentive to the pitcher before you come set or start your motion. All right. And, you know, the thing is, that's technically an illegal pitch. So you can give, like, I think it's what the college baseball does well. I mean, you can give one warning to that pitcher for that, but he does it. He keeps doing it. It's a ball. It's an illegal pitch. Okay. I mean, he's trying to cheat. He's trying to quick pitch the guy. So don't let that happen. All right. And, you know, there's a lot of pitchers that will try to do that, because certainly if you can, the guy's just, you know, getting set and maybe the guy's taking too long, but the hitter does have a right by rule to be set and attentive to the pitcher before he starts his motion or comes set. And it's motion or coming set. He can't just be sitting there being set. And then the guy gets, and then he's like going. That's crap too. That's against the rules as well. So be vigilant on that. And don't let pitchers do that. I mean, obviously you want to hurry up the hitter. Don't let them lollygag around. Get them in the box. In the box, please. 1 foot in the box. You know, the guy's walking way down by third base to get the sign and all that. So keep them in the box and that's game management too, and keeping things going as well. All right. So yeah, it's really, we're just attentive of that the whole game, and we have to fight that. You know, that's part of working the plate, I guess. That answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I see it. I'm all about keeping the game moving, but yeah, you don't want to have the quick pitch. You try to develop a pace with your pitcher and yeah, your batters. And once you get that rhythm, it's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions or comments about anything?
I got something.
Yeah.
Have some patience, have some empathy. You're going to be dealing with a lot of people who don't know the rules like you do. They're going to think that something was a balk and it's not. They're going to think something was a hit by pitch. You know, hands are part of the bat. You'll hear that. So just have some patience, be approachable. Let the head coach speak first. Listen, and then make sure you use rule book language when you are explaining something, and then keep it moving. But be approachable. Don't come out there with the Napoleon complex or have a big chip on your shoulder, thinking that they're out to get you. Just have some patience and understand that they are probably coming at you with less rules knowledge because they are not obligated to know the rules like we are.
All right, good point. Anything else, guys?
Hey, Kev.
Yeah.
Hey, obviously, guys, I don't know how many new people are on here, even veterans. Obviously, we got, Mother Nature said, screw you tonight. Unfortunately, our clinic is full also, but we still do have one more off-site training night, which I believe is going to be March 5th, I think I said.
Correct.
That's going to be at, Jenison. Hopefully some of the snow is gone by then and the cold weather. But yeah, that's, if that's going to be the only time you can maybe see pitches or something, I highly recommend anybody to go and, see some pitches and just get your equipment, dusted off, cleaned up, ready to go. And because after that, it's, play ball in a couple weeks after that. So we got just the one more training night, I think one more Zoom meeting and one more in person at Granville. And, it goes fast. So make sure you can maybe make those dates. So it's just unfortunate we couldn't make it tonight.
Can't make any of the training things or the clinic, then whatever high school is closest to where you live, so try to contact the coach. And once the practices start there in March, and see if there's any time you can go in there and see some pitches. Because pitchers, sometimes they even have it before that where they have, pitchers pitching every Wednesday night or something like that, and just kind of see and go in there and just see some pitches and call some balls and strikes. And it's a really good thing to do, and I'm not saying you got to go way across town to do that. So just whatever high school or two is closest to you, see what the deal is, and some of you might know those guys anyway, that are there. So that's a good way to do it. And just do it once or twice, and you don't have to do it every week. I mean, if you want to, that's great. But seeing some pitches before you actually get out on the field is a really good thing. All right. Last call here before we're done for the evening. Been good. Glad you guys showed up here. It was good talking some umpiring. That's always a fun time. All right. Hopefully some made you think about a few things, whether you're a new person or a veteran. We all got to be thinking about how we're getting better or at least trying to maintain. So, all right. I think our next meeting is it next week at Granville? It's an in-person one, right? Pretty sure it is.
That's a good question.
I'm pretty sure. Well, the next one I know is in person. I think it's next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much every Wednesday. There's something going on.
So there, we'll be talking more about game management and ejections and things like that, and how to handle those kind of situations. That's kind of the main theme, along with a couple other things, but that's the main thing we'll be talking about. So that's something all of us can definitely do better with. All right. Well, that's it, guys. You guys have a good evening, and I'll see you next time at Granville there. All right.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Kevin.